Part 1.
You will hear a library assistant talking about the library she works in.
First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5.
Hi, can I help you?
Yes. I wanted to join the library.
Okay. First of all, let me show you around the library and explain a few things for you. Okay, now we're here at the main entrance. You can see the reception, which is where you bring back and take out books. And also, we can order books and answer your questions there. Next to the reception, where you can see those old desks, is where we keep the magazines, because you can sit down and read there. They're divided into sections for sciences, geography, arts, etc. Then, at the back of the library, you can see the section for old books. Next to that is where the books proper start. That used to be the science section, but now on those shelves you'll find the art section. We had a big reorganisation in the summer, which I think has made it clearer. The numbering is standard, so you should be able to find what you want quite easily. However, if you can't find something, it probably means it's been borrowed. Okay, then in the corner next to the reference section is where we thought it was quietest and away from the phones and printers and things, so we've put the study desks there. They all have computer access if you need it for your laptop. We do ask that you don't just read magazines there, though. Okay, then there's the reference section, where you can look up the files. Then, as we come back to the main entrance, is the next section, where we used to have the languages. It got very busy and noisy, so when we moved everything round, we decided to put the law books here. Also, because it's a smaller section, it fits quite well here. Okay then, we're back at the main entrance. Over there, by reception, there's a door that goes to the extension, and we have further sections, such as languages and study desks through there. So you could have a look round when we've finished. Then, just between reception and the door here, is where we decided to put the computers, but the computer magazines are in the magazine section, as we found too many went missing here. Okay, is that everything?
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10.
That's great, thanks. Can you just tell me a bit about borrowing and the rules and whatever?
Of course. Over the last 2 months, we've been introducing a new system for this, and you can now take books out for 6 weeks. That's generally enough for most people. We usually get books back within 30 days. Of course, you may decide to renew the period. You used to have to come in to get the book stamped, because we don't like doing it over the phone, as there's no record of it. But now you can do all that via email. If you do forget to renew, then we do make a charge, I'm afraid. That helps our costs, of course, but we do insist on it. The good news is that there is only one charge. I know some libraries charge £1 for 1 week and then it goes up with each week it's late. We ask for £1.50 as we think that's high enough to stop people being overdue. The other thing you may want to know is what you do about books that are not on the shelves. We do have a system for reserving them. All you have to do is fill in a yellow form behind those blue ones on the desk and give it to someone at reception. We'll let you know when it comes in. Also, sometimes you will need a journal article that we don't have but can get from other libraries. So we offer an ordering service if you need it. Now, if you'd like to fill in this form...
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2.
You will hear a woman talking to a group of students about volunteering opportunities with her company, Time Abroad. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14.
Okay everyone, thanks for coming today and for your interest in volunteering abroad. For those that don't know much about our company, Time Abroad, let me start by telling you a bit more. Time Abroad is one of the largest volunteer abroad organisations in the UK. The company was founded in 2000. In 2007, the company grew by joining with another company, PT Travel, making us even larger. In 2014, we sent 10,000 people abroad on a variety of service projects and internships overseas, more than any other company. All participants receive the best support from our full-time professional staff to ensure that the experience is safe, worthwhile, and fun. We have lots of very experienced staff working for us. We have around 150 full-time staff members, many of whom are former volunteers themselves, inspired by their own experience. Some of these people are even part of the original groups of volunteers back in the early 90s. About 75 of those staff are not located in the UK at all, and spend their whole time in another country supporting the volunteers. They are experts on the local communities you are working in, having spent their whole lives there. They have vast experience in fields such as community development or education. The times that volunteers join the programme vary a lot. Some join in July because they have just finished studying at college or university and want to do some volunteering before they move on to work or further study. The winter months are also popular because people want to escape the cold weather in the UK. But there are no set start dates, and programmes run continuously throughout the year, so the majority of volunteers start when it is best for them. Time Abroad is an entirely independent organisation which does not receive any funding from religious bodies, political parties, development organisations or other sources. And of course, we don't request money from our partner organisations in the developing world. All our work is 100% funded through your contributions as a volunteer. We do get help from the government, but that is from reduced business taxes, not financial contributions. It is this financial independence that gives us the freedom to set up projects wherever we think it may be useful, and where we think that our volunteers can make a valuable contribution.
Before you listen to the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20.
Now I'm going to tell you about some of the more popular opportunities in a bit more detail. One of the most popular volunteering choices is teaching. You'll find a warm welcome awaits you from our students around the world. The main thing you will do is assisting with English conversation, because although the local teachers are very capable of teaching the structural aspects of the English language, such as the grammar, they do not use the correct intonation or pronunciation, because they lack the confidence of a native speaker. By providing conversational English teaching, you can greatly enhance the learning experience of thousands of children and adults with whom we work in the developing world. You can also volunteer in agriculture and farming. Access to safe and healthy food is a major concern of any society. Volunteers work on a farm with the aim of promoting sustainable local food sources and responsible farming. Using pesticides and other destructive agricultural techniques can have a long-term negative impact on the environment and threaten the future well-being of whole regions. Time Abroad's agricultural and farming projects focus on organic farming practices and educating local communities on their benefits. You could also volunteer in the field of veterinary medicine. If you do this, you will be working alongside a vet in a local veterinary practice. You will help the vet when people bring in sick animals or join the vet on visits to people's houses or other places. You will gain fantastic insight that would not be possible in your own country. You are likely to see many exciting types of animals, like snakes, big cats, or even elephants. And you will develop a better understanding of the problems people are faced with in both urban and rural areas of the Third World. So, I hope that's helped you to learn a bit more about time abroad. Does anybody have any questions?
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3. Part 3.
Later that morning, Ava attends a special class for students who are non-native speakers. The tutor is interviewing an ex-student of the college. First, you have some time to look at the questions.
Today I have with me Anna Cherney, who was a student at this college, how long ago?
I was here 2 years ago now.
Anna was a student in this English class when she was at the college, and she is here to tell us about the many problems facing a non-native speaker in a tertiary institution. What have you been doing since you graduated, Anna?
I was quite lucky when I left the college because I got a job pretty quickly with the local council. I'm still with them.
Tell the class what course you took here at the college.
Yes, I originally wanted to work in advertising, but I found it was too hard because of my English. And so I changed my direction. And, well, I'm glad I did, because now I have a qualification in nutritional science. And that's how I managed to get a job with the council.
What exactly do you do with the council?
I work with the chief dietitian, making sure that the meals prepared for the elderly in the community are nutritionally balanced. The council provides food for those old people who can't get out of their flat or their house. It's a very demanding job, but I like it.
You deliver the food?
No, I spend most of my day in a laboratory at the council. But sometimes I talk to older people to find out if the food is tasty enough and that they like it. I spend a lot of time in the kitchens too, making sure that the food is good quality.
What exactly were the problems when you first arrived at the college?
I was very shy, you know. I couldn't communicate with the students in my class because most of them were native speakers. My English was not very good. But I thought everything was okay until I got the result of my first examination. The tutor was worried why I was so quiet in class. I told her it was because I was afraid to ask a question. And anyway, she suggested that I talk to the school counselor.
What advice did the counsellor give?
Well, she was very kind and understanding, and I realized that I was doing the wrong course. You have to be an extrovert, you know, outgoing. I think it's a personal thing with me. You had to give a lot of opinions, and I am shy. So she suggested I ask more questions in class. So I made it a rule to ask at least 1 or 2 questions every lesson.
So you swapped courses and began to talk more in class. Was there anything else that the counsellor suggested?
Yes, she said I shouldn't live with students from my own country. I should share a house with some English students. So I did. And my English improved much faster.
Are there any problems that you currently have with English?
Oh yes, I used to have problems with the technical vocabulary in my field. But you pick that up pretty quickly. Now it's mostly, I have difficulty trying to understand the colloquial language of the English. The way they express themselves is sometimes very strange.
I see. How do you increase your vocabulary, for instance?
I listen to the radio a lot. Interviews on radio, talkback programs, that sort of thing. I find that really helps me. It's better than just watching TV. And actually, I keep a journal of the expressions I hear. Some people collect stamps and I collect new words and English expressions.
Let's talk some more about your course at the college. Do you remember any study projects that you were involved in?
Let me see. Well, there was one study we made of the nutritional habits of English school children. We had to produce a questionnaire for a group of 20 kids, and we discovered that too many children either didn't have any breakfast at all, or else they ate foods for breakfast that were much too high in sugar. These are 2 major dietary problems.
Why?
It's complicated, but breakfast is an important meal because your metabolic rate, the rate at which the body burns up food, is faster the earlier you begin eating in the day. So, if you want to have lots of energy, eat a good, balanced breakfast. You need a higher metabolic rate, you see. Also, too much sugar in the diet can cause the blood sugar level to rise very quickly at first, and then drop too rapidly. For breakfast, this is bad because later you are more likely to feel sleepy and unable to concentrate. So, eat a good breakfast, you'll think better, concentrate better, and yes, you'll probably score better in your exams.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions.
One last question. What about your future? Have you any immediate plans?
Well, in the short term, I'll continue to work for the council and gain more experience there. I hope to get a position in a hospital, which would be much more challenging than my present job. After that, my long-term goal is I have a dream to open my own business, an agency providing nutritional advice and giving consultations. Or I might have to go back to my own country instead and do what I can to improve the diet of my people at home.
I see. Now, does anyone have any questions for Anna? Yes, in the first row.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4. You are going to hear a lecture about the history of Indian railways. First, you now have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
In today's lecture, we're going to be talking about the history of Indian railways, from when they began up until 1945, when they had all been taken over by the government. Indian Railways is an Indian state-owned enterprise, owned and operated by the Government of India through the Ministry of Railways. It is one of the world's largest railway networks, comprising 115,000 kilometers of track over a route of 65,000 kilometers, and there are 7,500 stations. It transports over 25 million passengers daily, which is over 9 billion on an annual basis. Indian Railways is the world's 9th largest commercial or utility employer by number of employees, with over 1.4 million employees. The history of rail transport in India began in the mid-19th century. The core of the pressure for building railways in India came from London. In 1848, there was not a single kilometer of railway line in India. A British engineer, Robert Maitland Brereton, was responsible for the expansion of the railways from 1857 onwards. The Allahabad-Jabalpur branch line of the East Indian Railway had been opened in June 1867. Brereton was responsible for linking this with the Great Indian Peninsula Railway, resulting in a combined network of 6,400 kilometers. Hence it became possible to travel directly from Bombay to Calcutta. This route was officially opened on the 7th of March in 1870, and it was part of the inspiration for French writer Jules Verne's book Around the World in 80 Days. At the opening ceremony, the Viceroy Lord Mayo concluded that if possible, at the earliest possible moment, the whole country should be covered with a network of lines in a uniform system. By 1875, about £95 million were invested by British companies in Indian railways. By 1880, the network had a route mileage of about 14,500 kilometers, mostly radiating inwards from the 3 major port cities of Bombay, Madras, and Calcutta. By 1895, India had started building its own locomotives, and in 1896 sent engineers and locomotives to help build the Uganda railways. In 1900, the Great Indian Peninsula Railway became a government-owned company. The network spread to the modern-day states of Assam, Rajasthan, and Andhra Pradesh, and soon various autonomous kingdoms began to have their own rail systems. In 1905, an early railway board was constituted, but the powers were formally vested under Lord Curzon, the then Viceroy of India. It served under the Department of Commerce and Industry, and had a government railway official serving as chairman, a railway manager from England, and an agent of one of the company railways as the other 2 members. For the first time in its history, the railways began to make a profit. In 1907, almost all the rail companies were taken over by the government. The following year, the first electric locomotive made its appearance, and with the arrival of World War I, the railways were used to meet the needs of the British outside India, but with the end of the war, the railways were in a state of disrepair and collapse. In 1920, With the network having expanded to 61,220 kilometers, a need for central management was mooted by Sir William Ackworth, a British railway economist. Based on the East India Railway Committee chaired by Ackworth, the government took over the management of the railways and detached the finances of the railways from the other government revenues. The period between 1920 and 1929 was a period of economic boom. There were 66,000 kilometers of railway lines serving the country. The railways represented a capital value of some 687 million sterling, and they carried over 620 million passengers and approximately 90 million tons of goods each year. Following the Great Depression, the railways suffered economically for the next 8 years, and the Second World War severely crippled the railways. Starting in 1939, about 40% of the rolling stock, including locomotives and coaches, was taken to the Middle East. The railway workshops were converted to ammunition workshops, and many railway tracks were dismantled to help the Allies in the war. By 1946, all rail systems had been taken over by the government.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.